They never bothered to whisper. Children pointed at her in the street, their laughter sharp and careless. Women glanced at her with quick pity before looking away, as if staring too long might be contagious. Men ignored her completely, their eyes sliding past her like she was part of the wall. In the village, everyone knew her face, and none of them wanted to remember it. She learned early that mirrors were enemies. The cracked one hanging in her small room showed features the world had already judged unfair. A crooked smile, uneven skin, eyes too large for a face that never quite fit together. She tried once, when she was younger, to imagine someone loving that reflection. The idea felt foolish now. Marriage proposals arrived for every girl her age, except her. Mothers discussed dowries openly, loudly, making sure she heard. Not her, they would say. Who would want that burden? She pretended not to notice. Pretended not to care. Each morning, she wrapped herself in plain clothes and walked to the market before the sun fully rose. Work was safer than dreams. She helped carry baskets, cleaned stalls, did anything asked of her without complaint. Kindness, she discovered, was the only thing no one could take from her. Sometimes she watched couples pass by, hands brushing, voices low and warm. Her chest tightened, but she swallowed the feeling down. Love was not for everyone. She told herself that again and again until it almost sounded true. At night, alone in her narrow room, the silence grew heavy. She lay awake listening to distant laughter, wondering what it must feel like to be chosen. Once, long ago, she had prayed for beauty. Later, she prayed simply to stop caring. By the time she stopped hoping, the pain dulled into something manageable. A quiet ache, a life resigned. She believed this was all she would ever be. The girl people pitied, avoided, forgot. She did not know that the world was about to break its own cruel rules. His name moved markets. One sentence from him could raise stock prices or destroy a company overnight. Magazines printed his face beside words like visionary and untouchable. People smiled wider when he entered a room, laughed faster at his jokes, listened harder when he spoke. Wealth had taught the world how to treat him with reverence. But reverence was not love. At night, in penthouse silence, memories crept in uninvited. The woman he had loved once sat in those memories, arms crossed, eyes tired. "I don't need your money," she had said softly. "I need you." He had offered her everything except time. And by the time he realized that, she was already gone. Sleep became optional. Work became refuge. When even that failed, he boarded a private jet with no destination that mattered. He wanted a place where no one knew his name. That was how he ended up there. Dusty roads, a small market, a world that didn't bow when he walked past. He noticed her by accident. She was kneeling beside an elderly vendor, carefully gathering fruit that had fallen to the ground. Her movements were slow, patient. She didn't rush. She didn't look around to see who might be watching. When the old man tried to pay her, she shook her head and smiled, not for approval, but from habit. The smile was not beautiful, but it was honest. He stood still longer than necessary. Something about her quiet presence disturbed the numbness he had grown used to. She carried no hunger for more, no performance. The world had not been kind to her, and yet she was kind to it. When their eyes met, she looked away first, not shy, not flattered, just used to being unseen. For the first time in years, no one wanted anything from him. That realization unsettled him more than rejection ever had. He returned the next day, and the day after that. Each time, he watched her from a distance, feeling a strange pull he could not explain. She reminded him of something he had lost, maybe himself, before ambition hardened him. He did not yet know her name, but he knew this. Whatever had broken inside him had begun, quietly, to heal. Their first conversation happened by accident. She was arranging baskets at the edge of the market when he spoke, his voice calm but unfamiliar in her quiet world. "You don't have to do that alone." She looked up, startled. Men rarely spoke to her unless they needed something. Her first instinct was suspicion. "I'm fine," she replied, returning to her work. Instead of leaving, he crouched down and picked up a basket. His hands, unused to rough labor, moved awkwardly. She noticed the expensive watch he tried to hide beneath his sleeve. "You come here often," he said. "So do you," she answered, surprised at her own boldness. Their words were simple, but the silence between them felt different. He didn't stare. He didn't flinch. He spoke to her as if she were ordinary, and that, to her, was extraordinary. Over the next days, conversation replaced observation. He learned she had never left the village. She learned he liked walking instead of being driven. He asked questions no one ever asked her. What she thought, what she remembered, what made her laugh. When she spoke, he listened as though her words mattered. Then one evening, truth came knocking. A black car stopped near the market, too polished for the dust. Men in suits approached him with practiced respect. She watched the color drain from her own face as realization struck. He wasn't lost. He wasn't ordinary. You lied, she said later, her voice tight. I didn't tell you, he corrected gently. Because I wanted you to know me before the name. She stepped back, shame flooding in. Of course, a man like him didn't sit with someone like her. This was a joke, she whispered. Or pity. He shook his head, emotion breaking through his controlled calm. They see what they want to see, he said. I see you. She laughed bitterly. They say I'm ugly. His answer came without hesitation. Then they are blind, he said quietly. To me, you are perfect. The words landed like a wound and a miracle at once. Her eyes filled with tears she had trained herself never to show. For the first time, someone did not love her despite how she looked. He loved her because he truly saw her. The world noticed them before it understood them. When he chose to stay, whispers began. At first they were soft, curious. Then they sharpened. People stared as they walked together through the market, some openly amused, others offended, as if his presence beside her violated an unspoken rule. Cameras arrived soon after, drawn by rumors no one believed at first. A phase, a scandal, a mistake. She heard every word. Doubt crept in at night, quiet and poisonous. She stood before the same cracked mirror, searching for the flaw that made her unworthy of the life unfolding around her. The old fear returned. He will wake up and see what they see. But each morning, he reached for her hand without hesitation. He did not try to change her. He did not dress her in disguises or teach her how to perform beauty. Instead, he built space around her, space to speak, to choose, to exist without apology. When reporters mocked her appearance, he stood between them and her silence. I did not fall in love with a face, he said publicly, voice steady. I fell in love with a soul the world refused to notice. The backlash was brutal. Investors questioned his judgment. Friends warned him. Even strangers felt entitled to an opinion on her worth. She offered him a way out one night, her voice trembling. You don't have to lose everything for me. He cupped her face gently, as if it were something sacred. I lost myself once chasing approval, he said. I won't do it again. Slowly, something inside her healed. Not because the world changed, but because she did. She stopped shrinking. She met stares without flinching. Love did not make her beautiful. It made her free. And as for him, the man who had owned cities but not peace, he finally learned that real wealth was waking beside someone who saw him, not his power. Together, they rewrote the story the world insisted on telling. Not about beauty, but about being seen.